So, in this explainer, we're going to dig into something pretty wild: how a single social media post can literally send shockwaves through the entire global economy. We're going to follow the trail of this proposed tariff right from a smartphone screen, see it ripple all the way around the world, and then come right back home.
I mean, it's a question that really gets to the heart of our crazy, interconnected world, right? And the thing that kicked this whole discussion off, well, it wasn't some formal decree or a big press conference. Nope. It was this, just a social media post that made phones start buzzing everywhere, from DC to New Delhi to Beijing.
And there it is. That's the one. The exact post that started this massive chain reaction. The language is just so direct, so absolute. There's no wiggle room here. Final and conclusive. Wow. All right, so let's really break this policy down, what some people have called a favorite weapon. What does it actually mean? Well, it all boils down to one single, really powerful number. And here it is, the number at the absolute heart of all this: a flat 25% tariff. This isn't some minor adjustment. It is a massive financial penalty. It's designed to force a choice, plain and simple. Do you do business with Iran, or do you do business with the United States? You can't do both. Okay, so let's start tracing that first ripple. And what's so interesting is that this policy doesn't just hit adversaries. It directly impacts one of America's most important strategic partners, India. And they find themselves caught, right in the middle of this whole thing again.
And this is what makes it so real. We're not just talking about abstract economic numbers here. We're talking about basmati rice, tea, apples, medicine, stuff people use every single day. This is a $1.7 billion trade relationship we're looking at. And it's all built on these kinds of everyday goods. And now it's all directly under threat.
Yeah, and you can see from this timeline that this tariff, it didn't just come out of nowhere. It's not happening in a vacuum. It's really the latest turn of the screw in a long series of economic pressures, from completely halting oil imports to threatening a super important port project. It's just another squeeze on what's already a really complex but vital relationship. But here's the thing. India is just the beginning. The shockwaves from this one announcement, they spread way farther and wider, hitting some of the absolute biggest economies on the planet. So the first and by far the largest ripple smacks right into China. I mean, look at that number. We're talking about a trade relationship worth over $32 billion. China is Iran's #1 trading partner, and this is the crucial part, they're the top buyer of Iranian crude oil. A 25% tariff on top of everything else, that would be an absolutely massive blow. And then the next shockwave hits a really close American ally right there in the region, the United Arab Emirates. They're Iran's second largest trading partner. So now their $16 billion in trade is caught in the crosshairs. You can just imagine what a delicate, tricky diplomatic situation that creates. When you see these numbers all laid out side by side like this, it really puts the sheer scale of the potential disruption into perspective. For China, it's a huge economic link. For the UAE, a major regional partnership. For India, it's smaller, sure, but still strategically critical. And now all of them are facing the exact same really difficult choice. And this is where things get, well, really complicated, especially for a country like the UAE. How do you square this tariff threat with the fact that the UAE has also pledged to invest a jaw-dropping $1.4 trillion into the U.S. economy over the next 10 years? It just doesn't quite add up, does it? So let's shift gears a bit and look closer at the announcement itself. Because the way this policy was rolled out is almost as important as what it says. And, well, it follows a pretty familiar pattern. The characteristics here really tell the whole story, don't they? It's a huge directive, but it didn't come through any formal channels. It came out on social media. It's super vague on the details. It seems to completely ignore the impact on allies, and it could take effect immediately. It's a style that many have described as, fire first and think about the consequences later. Okay, and now we get to the final and honestly probably the most surprising ripple of all. This is the one that doesn't just travel outward. It actually boomerangs right back and hits the United States itself. And it creates this really fascinating paradox. Now, this might surprise you. It surprised me. Despite all the sanctions, all the hostility, the U.S. itself exported $90 million worth of goods to Iran just last year. Now, this trade is allowed under what's called a humanitarian exemption. We're talking mainly about things like food and medicine. And this right here, This is the central contradiction. The rule for the rest of the world is crystal clear. Stop all trade with Iran, or else. But at the same time, the United States is continuing its own trade. Sure, it's a small amount, but it's happening under this humanitarian label. So it's basically demanding the world stop doing something that it's still doing itself.
So this leaves us with this incredible and so far totally unanswered question. If the order is final and conclusive for any country doing business with Iran, well, does that include the United States itself? It's this bizarre logical loop that just shows how complicated this seemingly simple policy really is. And it makes you wonder, in our totally interconnected world, can a shockwave like this ever really travel in just one-way direction?